Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox, on this warm and sunny Wednesday morning. Humza Yousaf has had the bill for COP28 released, and it isn't good. Over £200,000 just to send this man to a place where he wasn't invited and had no reason to be. Just to make him feel good, massage his ego, allow him the chance to walk between the great and the good of the world leaders, even though he is merely a glorified council leader. For what purpose? Oh, I know. It's so that he could interfere and meet people and pretend that he's clever, pretend that he's powerful. He has no power. He has no influence. People at COP28 kept looking at him going, who's he? He wasn't invited into the top marquee, you understand. He didn't have a pass for that. He was not a national leader, and he was not invited. But £200,000 of public money spent so that he could go along with his little team and pretend on the world stage, for domestic consumption only, of course, that they were, important figures, bestriding the world, spending money. Let's have a look. Self-indulgent Humza Yousaf and his entourage rack up huge £200,000 bill at COP28 on the public purse, even though they had zero reason to be there. They weren't the hosts, and they weren't doing the handoff as the previous year's hosts. What this was is, this is an important place filled with important people. I want to tag along and have a bit of that glister rub off on me as though I'm important too. And it gives me a big of a swell so that I can go, look, I'm hobnobbing with the really powerful. He is not powerful. He is a nobody, and he'll soon be a gone nobody, forgotten in history. A little marginalia, was here 5 minutes. It's like that scene, isn't it, in Shawshank Redemption, when they get to the halfway house and they just see Brooks was here. That's what's written into the ceiling at Butte House now. Humza was here, but it'll soon be painted over, and then nobody will ever know. The First Minister attended the climate summit in Dubai with the full entourage of officials, spads, and his own private team of helpers, as did Mary McCallan, who came in on a separate flight and left on a separate flight so that nobody would ever suspect. And it's funny, isn't it? She must have got pregnant around that time, as they shared a hotel. Humza Yousaf and his SNP administration have provoked outrage after confessing it spent almost £200,000 of taxpayer cash. Always bad when the alarm goes off, isn't it? Humza Yousaf and his administration have provoked outrage after confessing that it spent over £200,000 of taxpayer cash flying him and his entourage out to Dubai to attend COP28. The First Minister went to the climate summit in November last year with his net zero secretary, Mary McCallan, flying out separately as well. Obviously, didn't want people to know the truth. He spent his time there boasting about Scotland's leadership in advocating for climate justice, whatever that is, and progressing a just transition to Imaginary's net zero, which is totally impossible. But afterwards, a damning report found that this was untrue, as the country was on track to miss out on its legally binding climate change goals. Every single one of them. Missed them all. It's not a world leader, it's a world laggard. And of course, he can do nothing about it because he doesn't have the authority, the power, the money, and certainly doesn't have any way of achieving it because he's surrounding himself with his coterie of morons. But it's not that they are particularly stupid in themselves. They are, of course, but that's not why he surrounded himself with these morons. He surrounded himself with these morons because he's a very stupid man. But he thinks that if he has people surrounding him who are even more stupid, it makes him stand out as an intellectual great. It doesn't. It really doesn't. The Scottish Government published its full expenses of this lavish trip to Dubai, with Mr Yousaf bringing with him a full support team, costing the taxpayer £8,000 in addition to his hotel, food, drink and travel expenses. And his food, drink and travel expenses came in at £5,134. McCallan brought an entourage as well, racking up a bill for over £9,000 for her. Well, she's got more people. She's more important or something. Unbelievable, isn't it? If they were told they had to pay it out of their own money, would they be going to COP28? Would they buggery? And if they did, they'd buy the cheapest room you can get. Not for them a first-class seat on Emirates Air, sitting wafting champagne and caviar at 30,000 feet. Not them checking into a 5-star all-inclusive hotel with hot and cold running maids. No siree, Bob. They'd have been down at the IMCA, wouldn't they? A total of 13 officials from the SNP executive also flew out to the UAE to enjoy the junket, as well as 3 spads, costing the public purse £58,000. This means more than £80,000 was utilised on just the expenses of the nationalist administration. These people live in a world of delusion. The delusion being that they think they're important. They think they're entitled to all this simply by dint of being marginally slightly above, let's say the mayor of Manchester, really, isn't it? Not much above. Humza Yousaf, in terms of budget and the people under him, in terms of Scottish population, is half a Sadiq Khan. It's amazing, isn't it? Scottish Cabinet Secretary for Net Zero Energy and Transport, Douglas Lumsden, said hard-pressed Scots will be wondering why they're having to foot such a substantial bill for Humza Yousaf and his entourage to grandstand at the COP. And in addition to their lavish spending on flights and other costs, they also saw fit to shell out over £100,000 on campaigns ahead of going to the summit. Humza Yousaf, Mary McCallum and their advisers would have all been better off getting their own house in order before jetting off in this self-indulgent affair. And boy, did he nail it on the head with the word affair. Be interesting to see what pops out in a few months' time from Mary McCallum's swollen belly. He said it was rich for them to try and preach about environmental targets when they've repeatedly missed their own in Scotland and have failed to produce an updated climate change plan. They're not capable of updating it, are they? That is hardly the sort of advice the world leaders will be phoning the SNP to ask about, as Mary McCallum laughably tried to claim. Yeah, remember she said, I've had world leaders phoning me because we're so ahead. I've had them all in line up banging on my door. I tell you what, love, only Humza's been banging at your door, hasn't he? He said, at a time when Scots are paying more and more to get less and less due to the disastrous tax and acts budget from the SNP, these costs cannot be justified. But Humza is in the position where he doesn't need to justify them. He just steals this to make himself look important and exciting. And look at me. I'm meeting with people like Erdogan to try and get my family out of Gaza. That's how important I am. And why does he keep wearing tartan ties? Is he trying to convince people that he's a Scot with a long history going all the way back to, I don't know, Culloden? Hardly. Coming up. Now, I did a thing last night about Humza Yousaf moving his family into Butte House, and I'm wondering how long it'll be before Mary McCallum is brought in as well. After all, apparently, she's carrying the Messiah. So wait and see, won't we? Wait and see. If you remember a few months ago, there was a big rumour about this massive affair going on in the upper echelons of power in the SNP. Everyone assumed it was Humza Yousaf and Anam Kazir. Turns out that may not be so, especially as Mary McCallum must have got pregnant at around the time she was in Dubai. Look at the time frames. She's now 5 months pregnant. It was 5 months ago. Dum diddy dum. Doesn't take much to do the maths on this one, does it? We shall see. Anyway, it is idle speculation on my part. True. Lots of salt. But truth will out one day. Literally. It will come out one day. Anyway, next time, that's when I'll speak to you again. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment. Please share the video. And let's hope that one day Humza Yousaf will be voted out of office and stop spending all that money to make himself look important. He can go back to his little call centre job, can't he? Bye.